avec ça, puisqu'on parle d'organisation et qu'on parle de talent, c'est le moment de passer la parole à mon ami et mon collègue. So it's time, I believe, to turn it to you, Rich. So please welcome our friend, and if we can move to the next slide, please. So that please come on the stage. Et je vous demande d'accueillir Rich, qui est notre vice-président en charge de la stratégie Business Analytics globale du groupe Oracle. Je vous remercie. Excellente journée.
Merci. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Try to keep my American comments and questions. Nice to be here this afternoon. Thank you. I understood a couple words you said, Kareem. Cloud, big data, business analytics.
And Oracle.
That's pretty well.
Sorry?
Oracle.
And Oracle. It's a great honor to be here today and to spend some time with you. So I will try to share with you my views, Oracle's strategy, where we're going in terms of this area, and a few stories along the way of customers who have achieved really great and wonderful things. I think we're just at the beginning of a new journey, and we like to refer to this journey as adaptive intelligence, and not artificial intelligence, adaptive. Adaptive meaning we begin to incorporate and understand the potential of people working with computers in a different fashion. So I'll try to share with you a little bit of perspective about how we see this collaboration changing and how an adaptive intelligence system can really open up new opportunities in both work and life. And so I'll share with you some thoughts about that. In business, I believe that this does afford new ways to work in how we use information, how we engage information. It affords new opportunities in how we make decisions, because many decisions today are uninformed or have bias in those decisions. And so we'll talk a little bit about this today. Now, with all great intentions, most people purely are unable to grasp all of the data necessary to make decisions. And honestly, it's not our fault, because in the last 2 years, the volume of information that's been produced is equal to the last 100 years. Bias, or eliminate bias, and put more intelligence into the actual actions that the business application is taking. From a platform perspective, we'll drill down on this in a little bit. This is really about embedding that knowledge into a platform where you can build applications and tailor those experiences for your internal organizations, and provide visualizations so they can see those patterns very, very quickly. And the last piece, and the secret ingredient, is data. Some of you have seen that we've acquired several companies that generate third-party data across 15 million websites. So we don't have to wonder who shows up at our website anymore. We don't have to wonder who calls our call center anymore. We can know them individually. I actually had a great experience with this recently with Lincoln, which is the Ford Motor Company. I can share that with you at the break, but I won't tell you about it now. If you'd like, I could share with you what they use. One of the products that we acquired, or companies we acquired, is a company called Blue Kai. Blue Kai has information on literally thousands of segments of information. Your intent to buy a mobile phone, your intent to buy fashion, your intent to buy banking products, your intent to buy phone services, your intent to buy homes, all right? And these are all temporal signals. Typically when you buy a car, you start researching 3 months and 1 week before you actually make the transaction. So this is things that have been observed for years. And one of our customers is a marketing agency in the South called DX Marketing. And you know, the old adage about marketing is 50% of our advertising is wasted. The problem is we don't know which 50%, right? And that is true today, even in digital. But now that we have these signals about intent to purchase, we can combine that with our own information and make much more
specific recommendations, much more specific programs to acquire new customers or serve existing customers. So I want to share with you a little bit about what's next in terms of the analytics field specifically and where we're going. And I want to start with where we are today. Most analytics systems today do a few things, and they do them very, very well. From a data perspective, what do? They collect data from many, many different sources. They allow you to query them, and in some cases it's SQL queries, some cases it's NoSQL or Hadoop. How do you interface, or what's sort of what you get from it? You get visualization to discover patterns and find hidden things, and if you're really advanced, you do some predictions, right? Does that sort of feel like the situation we're in today? Yeah? What if I were to say to you that that's really old school thinking? What if I were to say to you that that's great, but that's not really going to help you succeed in the future? Because the volume of data that's produced and your ability to consume it are opposing ends of the spectrum, and that we believe that that's going to continue. So we think an adaptive platform actually generates data. It actually brings those insights to you in context. It allows you to understand and take action, and it's a self-learning system. So what is an example? In banking, if you're running branch operations, when you show up at the branch, you don't sit down with a laptop, open Oracle BI, sign in through VPN, go to the dashboard, navigate to the branch. That's old school. New school is the system knows you showed up at the Versailles branch, and it pushes statistics about that branch performance as of today. And when you go to the branch in Paris, it pushes you information about that branch today, real time. What if you're in the manufacturing industry and you walk the floor of a factory? What if it told you about the optimization and the results of that line based on where you are? Or you have a meeting with the CEO tomorrow, and the last meeting you had with the CEO was a month ago, and the metrics that you looked at a month ago probably are the metrics that you want to look at today, but the CEO had a review with your peer yesterday, and they showed other metrics. Why don't you show them? So why do systems have to have us tell it what we want all the time? Why can't they observe and listen and be smart about what other people are doing, where you are, what your context is? That's an adaptive system. And I think that that has a profound way on how we work. And I'm very excited about what that potential looks like. Oops, all right. Let's try that again. So 4 things that we think are critical to this, and I do want to leave a few minutes for questions today. So from a design point of view, first and foremost is that we believe that this platform has to serve many, many different cases. Okay? This self-learning case is really the new case. But if you're doing financial analysis, you need a sandbox to do scenario analysis. And many of you are longtime Oracle S-based customers, and we're taking that technology and bringing it to the cloud. In fact, later this afternoon you can actually see what that new product looks like. So you need the ability to do some sandboxing. You need to have a recommendation engine. Earlier at lunch today, I met some of our customers who use one of our solutions called real-time decisions. And what does that do? It makes offers based on a self-learning decision optimization engine. It needs to be extensible and developed so that developers can put it into their applications, not just our applications, but ones that you create. And I think it needs to be activated like we talked to Siri. So next month, our new analytics cloud, you'll actually use your voice, not your fingers, to ask questions of it. And when you ask questions of it, it'll remember that you asked those questions. It'll remember where you asked them and what you asked and how often you ask it. Okay? So that's that self-learning piece kind of coming together and bringing voice and search and text all into a single environment. Now, these analytic systems need to be connected. They need to be connected not only to our SaaS applications, but to any data that you have in your company or around your company. and really allow you to access that on any device. Number of devices we all have are growing, and the continued use of mobile through analysis, I think, is a pretty important piece. The collaborative part is where the machine learning piece comes in. And here, I think, one of the things I'm excited about is around this whole notion of narrative or stories. We know that humans, when we interact with each other, we tell each other stories. We tell each other stories to entertain, but in business we usually tell stories to change the path of something. Unfortunately, many of those stories are based on our intuition, and not enough of those stories are based on facts. And so this collaborative nature will bring more facts into our stories and allow you to tell them in a visual, appealing, and interactive way, and I think there's also some demonstrations out there later. One of the stories I love to share, speaking of stories, is around the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, and this is Dr. Shapiro. Dr. Shapiro is the chief medical officer there, and their fundamental goal is to help solve breast cancer. Now, as you think about breast cancer, and you think about the human genome and the volume of data that one human produces in terms of genome, and how much modeling and analysis you need to do, it's absolutely impossible to do that even with the largest computers in the world. So you have to have a process, an approach, we call this a data lab, to create more tests, more hypotheses, faster and simultaneously. One of the things that they did that I think is a very brave move in the medical field is use two modes of research, inductive and deductive. And one of the facets of that is that the group of people in this data lab aren't all folks that have medical degrees. Some have art history, some are English majors, some have accounting degrees. And you say, well, what does that have to do with fighting cancer? It's about diversity. It's about debiasing or eliminating bias from decisions and saying, well, we ought to test these things in this sequence. I think this is a very brave move. I hope he achieves the goal that he's after. From a platform point of view, we do know that there's a reality. You're not going to just take all of your systems and move them to the cloud next week. While we would love that, we recognize that that is a 10-year journey. And from an analytics perspective, we are not forcing you to move to the cloud. In fact, quite the opposite. If you want to have your analytics in the cloud and your data in your data center, no data is needed to move. If new applications naturally go there, you can develop new applications there. If you want to bring them back to your data center, there's no rewrite, and vice versa. So we want to provide full choice for you so that you can use the cloud as you see fit. Recognize there are sovereign and governance issues that many of the regulated industries here have, and that's why we're going to provide you a range of options in that regard. So I just want to close with one thing. So I've shared with you a little bit about what our strategy is. I didn't want to go into too much detail just for time. Probably getting tired of listening to English too much too, so I appreciate your listening. Hopefully I didn't speak too fast. I spoke really fast yesterday, so the team says you need to slow down. I had less caffeine this afternoon, so that was helpful, even though I love your coffee. So what would be my recommendations for each of you? And I try to put this on as sort of your counselor for analytics, and being in the analytics space for 25 years and hearing some of the same questions. Probably number one thing, coming back to my comment about Google, is yes, data scientists are important. Yes, there is a very critical role that they play. Yes, algorithms are evolving, and you need to continue to test new algorithms and data science. That is not sustainable. You have to have a business strategy around information and data. How you collect, curate, improve, test, measure, value information. And I would submit to you, most organizations are struggling just with that. Because There is no one-size-fits-all for information any longer. The predictability of some of these sources are still very early, so the time, benefit, and energy to put them into a warehouse is not worth it, so don't bother. But we have to have a dynamic data strategy in our process. We have to have a way to innovate with information. I shared with you a little bit with UPMC, the medical center, and what they're doing. I'm happy to share with you more about what a data lab looks like, conceptually and organizationally. There's no physical lab that people sit in with white lab coats and things, but what does a data lab look like and how do you use it for innovation? In terms of analytical skills, I'll share with you two points. I'm very active in the higher education and philanthropy area. Spend a lot of my personal time working with institutions, helping build analytic programs. 5 years ago, McKinsey published a pretty important study about this topic, and they said in the US, and I think this is a global phenomenon, in the US we had 150,000 shortfall of data scientists, and we had 1.5 million shortfall of managers who knew how to analyze information. Okay, that was 5 years ago, 2012. Today, they say we have a shortfall of 400,000 data scientists and 4 to 5 million people in the US alone that are not data savvy, that do not know how to use information. Universities are producing 8% more graduates in the field of analytics, and the demand is growing at 14+%. So the supply and demand of talent, new talent entering our workforces today are substantially out of balance. Why do I tell you this? Is that you have to invest in your people. One of the most advanced analytics companies in the world is Procter & Gamble. And Procter & Gamble CEO says you go nowhere without analytics context and competencies. It has a very specific professional and talent development profile for his team. Have a plan for cloud. Cloud is a way to innovate. Cloud is a way to do things quicker, faster, and better. It is not just a place that's lower cost. Yes, that's true, but I think that's only the beginning. And the last point is you have a very skilled organization here in France. Just a little, my background, joined the company through the Hyperion acquisition 10 years ago. Our European operation was set up here 21 years ago, and our largest group of Hyperion, then S-based customers, is here in France. The team that supports you here is one of the best in the world. And I encourage you to ask them different questions, strategy questions, questions about innovation, questions not just about the technology. That's where we always go. And as you all know, that's just a piece of it. So I encourage you to engage with Katya and her team. They're a wonderful team. I always come to support them because I believe they've got great leadership skills, and encourage you to engage with them in a different way. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your hospitality, and I'll open it up for questions, comments. I don't want to take too much time, but I don't know, are we doing that time? Probably blew the agenda already. Have I? Okay. I'll take 3 questions. I would love to take 100 questions, but I will take them at the break. Okay. All right. Well, you've been very kind. Thank you very much for your time.